Hi there, everybody. It's Gordon here again. At the time of recording, we're in the middle of the coronavirus crisis. Lots of people getting furloughed, and I've had quite a few people asking me about the impact on their pay of being furloughed. So I just thought I'd put together some quick calculations just to give people a guide as to what to expect in terms of their take-home pay. Now, to put some numbers on this, I've had to make some assumptions. And you can obviously vary assumptions depending on your personal circumstances. I've assumed you've got somebody with a salary of 32,000 picked entirely randomly. Our individual who we're looking at is a graduate who has a student loan, what they call a Plan 2 student loan. That is one taken out after 2012. Numbers work out a little bit different if it's an earlier, a Plan 1 student loan. But I just had to have some numbers to play with. I've assumed that you're a member of a pension scheme and you have 5% of your pay deducted into a pension scheme. That is pretty standard. And you are about to be furloughed, which will reduce your gross pay by 20%. And what a lot of people then think is that their take-home pay will go down by 20%. But as you'll see in a minute, it's not actually quite as bad as that. Let me show you why. What are you going to take home before furlough? So if you've got a salary of 32 grand and you're in this position I've just described, well, you'll be losing 1,600 of your pay direct into your pension scheme. Your student loan, the deductions for that will be 9% of your income in excess of the limit, which is around 26,560, give or take a few pennies. That's the threshold for a Plan 2 loan. It's a lower threshold for a Plan 1 loan. And so your student loan deductions will be just shy of 500 quid. Your income tax, you're a basic rate taxpayer. You pay income tax on your salary net of your pension contribution. So I've taken the pension contribution of 1,600 off the salary. Everybody for income tax gets a personal allowance, £12,500. That's what you can earn before you start paying tax. And then you pay 20% income tax on the excess. But then as well as that, here's the killer, you also have to pay national insurance on the gross salary with no deduction for pensions. Bit weird that, but that's how it works. And you get what's called a primary threshold for national insurance, which is currently £9,500. So you pay national insurance at 12% on your salary above 9,500, which leads to a 2,700 deduction for NIC. These are all annual figures, which means that your annual take-home pay, if you take your salary of 32,000 and you knock those 4 deductions off, that comes to around 23,600, and it means you should be taking home around 1969 a month, approximately. That's before furlough. Okay? Now what happens when you are furloughed? Well, what I'm going to do is repeat the numbers. Typically, the furlough pay means 80% of your previous pay. You need to check that this now doesn't exceed 2,500 a month, because that's the maximum they'll pay, but we're all right, we're inside that. So that isn't an issue here with these numbers. Right, when I now come and look at the deductions, the pension contribution, you still have to pay it, but it's 5% on the reduced salary. Student loan, technically it is still repayable, but with your pay now under the threshold at which repayments are due, there won't be any student loan repayments. Your income tax calculated as before, salary minus pension contributions minus personal allowance times the basic rate of tax, 20%. And then your national insurance calculated as before, gross salary minus the national insurance threshold times 12%. Taking those deductions off your gross salary means your annual take home is now a nudge over £20,000, and your monthly take home has now gone down to just under 1670. But when you compare this with your position before furlough, the fall isn't quite as bad as people often feared. Because of the impact of the student loan and the tax and the national insurance, the fall in your take home pay based on these assumptions is only going to be 15%. And hopefully, in these times of lockdown, you're not spending very much. So hopefully that makes things affordable.